It's mailbag time on Peacock and Williamson, getting ready for Week 15. What does the future hold for Sam Darnold? Raiders have the worst outlook in the NFL going into 2025, and a whole lot more coming at you right now.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen, getting in your mailbag questions as well on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Hit that subscribe button, please. We appreciate it. Helps us out tremendously. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. All right, let's open up the mailbag. We got to talk about Sam Darnold.
Yeah, good.
Put together a phenomenal season for the Minnesota Vikings. Tore it up in the stat category last week as well to help those Vikings to what should be a higher seed in the NFC, but 11-2 record right now for those Minnesota Vikings. And Sam Darnold obviously making himself some money, but the Vikings drafted a first-round quarterback. And then they just brought in Daniel Jones, which clues us into what their plan is, I think. Joey Bag of Donuts, though, frequent listener, frequent question asker, always has some good ones, says, how can the Vikings let Sam Darnold go at this point with him playing so well? There's a very real chance that the Vikings get worse at quarterback going into 2025 after an 11-2 season. Can they let that guy walk?
Yeah, it's sticky. And it's not always up to them, though. You know, like, does Darnold want to come back with a first-round quarterback looming as opposed to going to, you know, whatever team? There's going to be plenty of suitors for him. I absolutely think he's going to be a starting quarterback next year and well compensated to do so. I mean, a clear starter, not like, you're going to battle it out with J.J. McCarthy or somebody, a young guy to be named later. Now, the Daniel Jones thing is important, but he is only signed to the end of the year. But I do think they signed him with intentions of having him there next year. Now, I'm just throwing out some options. You know, I mean, if Darnold leaves, I would think a quarterback contract will yield you a third-round pick comp, you know, a comp pick at least. I mean, so no matter what you do, pretty much. I mean, that's a big contract. So that's not nothing. But I also think he probably gives you the best chance to win out of Jones, McCarthy, Darnold in 2025. And, you know, you're a really good team right now. You might just want to run it back. Would you consider trading McCarthy? But you're only going to get like 75 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, I mean, if you go with Darnold again, that means it has to be a long-term contract because he's the way you laid it out. He's not going to get a one-year prove-it deal anymore. He's already done that.
No, he proved it.
Yeah. His image has been rehabbed. He's played with some good coaches. It's a offensive language that's half the league right now and growing. It's hard to know what the market is for Sam Darnold. Like, there was a graph, and I can't remember if I brought it up on the podcast or not, and I know I talked with you about it, but there was a graph that showed quarterback efficiency, you know, EPA, and versus what quarterbacks are getting paid. And it's like all the rookie quarterbacks are on one side. There's a massive gap. Then all the expensive quarterbacks are on the other side. And there's one guy right in the middle, both with the EPA and with the dollars, and it's Geno Smith. So is Darnold
exactly what you paid for?
Yeah. Is Darnold the new Geno Smith where there's that middle class of quarterback that you actually get value from, even though you're paying a long-term veteran quarterback? Is that where his money is? That's what it feels like you're saying, and that's what it feels like he should be right now. Who's the team that's going to want to do that? We talked on yesterday's show about where Bill Belichick ends up coaching. Is that the kind of quarterback he wants? And he's like, yeah, give me a $35 million a year quarterback, you know, kind of like the Geno contract or the Baker Mayfield contract, or sort of where the Daniel Jones contract was. Like, is that where he is? Because that's a pretty phenomenal value versus what some other quarterbacks are getting paid of $55-60 million, and they're not that far off, and maybe have performed not even to the level that Darnold did if you're looking at just this year. Now, there's a reason Darnold would not make the big money because there's been a long history of him, but that's a fascinating one. And is the franchise tag not a possibility?
I think it is. You know, I mean, it always ruffles feathers, but
yeah,
you can franchise him and say you're the starter unquestioned. And then we'll run it back, you know.
Because we want to see that one more year and do the thing we were going to do last year anyway with our young quarterback, and then make a decision. It gives you the opportunity to push back the decision one more year and see where your
Let
young
Daniel Jones go. Who cares?
Injury. And Daniel Jones, if maybe he didn't show you enough to be the backup in his little stint on the practice field. But it could go a number of directions. I tend to think they'll just let him walk, because a franchise tag after that season would be doing him dirty, because part of the agreement is like, hey guys, I'm going to sign for 1 year because I'm rehabbing my image and I want to cash in. And then he does his team's like, oh, never mind. We're not going to let you cash in on that long-term deal. Here's a 1 year deal where you got to stick around now. And you might even get benched halfway through the season for the young guy.
It always gets sticky with this situation, because you could franchise him and trade him to try to get more than a third-round pick for him. Maybe get a second, maybe get a first, maybe get a package, you get a player, whatever. But the problem is he eats up a huge chunk of your cap space during free agency period while you're trying to trade him. You can't go sign a guard, because he's eating up all your space. He kind of handcuffs you a little bit. I don't know what their cap situation is, but I bet he's not a Viking.
I bet he's not a Viking. I think you have.
I think it's McCarthy and Jones. Yeah.
If Jones saw you enough to be the veteran backup, and you liked what you saw, and by all it wasn't a slam dunk that it was going to be Darnold. Remember, before that McCarthy injury, because he looked like, okay, maybe there's something here. He might start soon. He might start week 1. There's going to be people clamoring for that. And they liked him enough, and they drafted him. I think the injuries part of it happened early enough where he should be back and 100% by the time the season starts, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Darnold's going to have an opportunity to go somewhere else. I understand if you say, man, door number 2 is scarier because you've seen the performance from Darnold now in door number 1, but you almost can't go through door number 1, even though you've seen it. You got to go to Darnold's kind of door number 2 that you've already peeked behind. You got to open up door number 1, because that's still that plan that you had, which could be still the better situation for you with as good a quarterback, maybe better quarterback at a cheaper rate.
And I do think he's going to make more than Baker and Geno and Daniel Jones too. I think he's going to get into the 40s, especially if it's a bidding war to some degree. And that would be 2 years in a row that you'd lose a strong starting quarterback. Just let him walk. That never happens, right?
So, and that brings me to the next part of this. If you're Kevin O'Connell and you've earned the right, do you have a little bit of an ego saying, well, look what Kirk Cousins did without me.
Look
what Sam Darnold did without me. I think I'm part of this as well, and I think I'm going to get that young guy to be playing at a level that's really high. And
he might secretly be super excited about Daniel Jones,
right? And we talked about this a lot with Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. What if Kyle Shanahan says, okay, look, $900,000 Brock Purdy was awesome, but a $55 million Brock Purdy, that's different. My ego tells me I can coach him up pretty good. I can go find another guy. Maybe Sam Darnold goes to the 49ers at half the money that you were going to have to pay Brock Purdy.
Maybe. I think you're selling Darnold's contract a little short, though.
Well, so half of...
I don't think he's going to get 55, but I think he's going to get maybe 40.
Yeah, it's weird because there's no middle class in the NFL.
I know, it is. It is. I don't think he's back, though. I mean...
Yep, I don't think so.
But what if you take this conversation a step further? What if they win the Super Bowl? Or at least have playoff success?
Yeah, what if Darnold just keeps going crazy? They win the Super Bowl. Maybe Josh Allen crashes birds a little bit the last few weeks. Darnold's like MVP and Super Bowl champion.
I mean, even if they go to the NFC Championship and he plays as well as he did, there's a case just to sign him and have him and McCarthy.
Yeah, so let's say McCarthy, or let's say Kevin O'Connell's like, okay, Darnold's amazing. He's as good as we ever hope that our quarterback we drafted is ever going to be. And we don't want the distraction of it all. What would be a team offering? You're the GM of another team. What are you offering for JJ McCarthy?
And I don't know, they couldn't coexist for a year or two in a Rodgers love-like manner, you know? You could wait till the trade deadline or wait till the really gets to be an offer you can't refuse. But like if I'm the Raiders, I'm not giving you the first overall pick for him, even though I might like McCarthy more than Sanders. But
I mean, that's what. So if I'm another team, like I'm a shark circling that pool because I'm like,
somebody's going to fall out of there. There's going to be a free meal here somewhere. Right?
Give me the number one pick, and I can get a guy that I think we had a better draft grade on than anybody in this class anyway, potentially.
Right.
How about a second plus something else for McCarthy, and we keep our high
2 seconds, second this year, second next year. Might be the best move for the Vikes.
Or a late first round pick, a team that doesn't have a super high pick, that doesn't like the quarterback class anyway, and isn't even going to have an opportunity to draft those guys. Could they throw their first round pick, and the Vikings say, okay, cool. In a roundabout way, we get a first round pick back, and we're good, and Darnold's awesome. We're going to roll that way. Or
a team like the Rams that Stafford says, I'm going to play one more year. Well, we'll put McCarthy behind you, give you a first round pick for him, and you'll be a successor in waiting, you know?
It's so funny. This is such a wild scenario because on one hand, it seems so insane that you would trade away that young quarterback. But at the same time, I get the argument. It seems insane to let Sam Darnold go, who's played as well as you could ever hope. We'd be going nuts if J.J. McCarthy was doing what Sam Darnold has done this year. We'd be going
rookie of the year. We would be talking about Jaden Daniels as much. Yep. Absolutely. No, I think they have more options the more we talk through this thing, including the franchise tag, and you know.
And the better Darnold plays for longer, and the better the Vikings do, the more interesting that conversation comes. And the more money Sam Darnold makes, the more money per year, and the more years.
Mm-hmm. You go into camp with Darnold under a big contract, a 3-year deal, and McCarthy. You can turn something into something, or you just live with it. You know, you saw what life was like when you lose one of them. You might need the other one, you know?
So essentially, the rest of Darnold's career is going to start to look like Baker Mayfield's career, potentially, is what we're talking about.
If he keeps moving around, unless the Vikes just lock him up or the next team locks him up. The next stop, it already kind of has.
The next stop would be the Buccaneers version for Darnold.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield is it.
Could be, yeah. Same draft class, you know, right.
Next, we got questions on first-round running backs. Who could be the teams drafting a player at a position they probably shouldn't be drafting in the first round, in my opinion? And the Raiders have the worst outlook in the NFL. We'll get to all of that next. Today's episode, Peacock and Williamson, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Get ready to tackle the NFL action right now on FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet just $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Place live bets on the NBA. You can do that too. NHL, all the sports you can imagine. You can find all that action. Tons of props, off-season props, in-season props, weekly props, all of it at FanDuel. And all you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the place to buy tickets, and a phenomenal place to buy last-minute tickets and get fantastic deals. I've used Game Time to great success, getting some last-minute baseball tickets, deciding to go to a concert because it was so good the first night. Got a good deal on a ticket for the second night in a row. I said, you know what? If I'm getting half ticket, the face value of the ticket cost, I'm going back tomorrow to see this band. And I did, and it was phenomenal. And now Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier, because you're looking around a 60,000 seat stadium, even bigger in some cases for football games. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. All-in pricing, views from your seat, low price guarantee. Take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. If you're buying sports tickets, concerts, comedy shows, whatever it is, just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. All right, let's talk draft. There's a lot of teams that are in postseason mode right now. And Michael wants to know Dallas, Kansas City, could one of these teams take a running back in the first round? He says, I'm curious if there are other teams you could see taking a running back early. Clearly, the Falcons weren't the Bijan, or going back to Jags with Fournette. Maybe the Eagles were only a running back away with Saquon. Obviously, I don't think anybody really expected the Lions to be going for Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft that year. And so I think what happens in the draft, Matt, is that you make your draft board if you're a team, right? You put in all this work and you have a handful of guys at the top and you're picking at 12. And all of a sudden, the most glaring, highest grade on your board is a running back. And so the natural inclination is it's the best player on the board. We're going to go draft this guy that's in another tier. Let's draft the best player. And that turns out to be a really highly drafted running back. Which teams do you think could do that this year, Matt?
I mean, this obviously is a Jeanty from Boise State conversation because it sounds like he's at a Bijan-like level, where he is going to have a first-round grade by everybody, position value aside. And every block in the world has him going to Dallas. And I do that Locked On Dynasty show every Wednesday with Kate and Marcus does Locked On Cowboys. I asked him about it. He's like, no, they're too analytically inclined now. They are not taking running back the first round. And I tend to agree. They have other needs. So I jotted down 7 teams, all of whom are like playoff type teams to me. And could you see any of these teams making the move? And kind of like put you over the top, like the rich get richer type of situation. And it's different using the 25th pick on a back than it is using the 9th. Buffalo, I tend to lean towards no, that they'd probably be happy with their backs.
Yeah.
Najee Harris is a free agent. Could the Steelers do it? They're also I don't think Omar Khan would do it from a money standpoint. He's a salary cap guy, but they run the ball like crazy.
They already did it with Najee Harris.
And they did it. Well, that was Kevin Colbert, but they did it with Najee.
Yeah.
They run the ball more than anybody. I mean, GT and Warren doesn't sound bad,
Well, and I would say when you talk about because and someone replied here too about Saquon being a difference maker and Chris McCaffrey and what they look like on their new teams. What did they do for the team that drafted them in the top 10? Right. This is the
Giants wouldn't be a contender if they kept Saquon.
Yeah, you don't build it out of the running back. You add him at the very end, sure, but that's not going to be one of the teams drafting top 10.
That's why I'm saying these are all playoff teams.
Right.
Just the cherry on top for a really good team. I don't think the Steelers would do it. I kind of like Houston. I mean, how much does Mixon have left? And when he's not out there, they can't run the ball. You could two-headed monster it for maybe one more year.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Yeah. How about the Chiefs?
Yeah, Chiefs for sure. And they've done it before. And that didn't work out.
Didn't work, but
if they get a different guy and the right guy, and I think they're a team where it's like, hey, first of all, Andy Reid will kind of shoot from the hip.
Yeah. If he loves them, they're going to do it.
They'll ask. Like a lot of the reason they drafted the last running back in the first round was because of Patrick Mahomes. And part of the reason they drafted Worthy is like, Patrick Mahomes, which toy do you want? And he picked out a toy, and we'll see if those work out. I don't know if that's a great way to do it, to be honest with you, to build your team, but that's part of it too. If Patrick Mahomes is like, oh, this is the toy I want, they might go get it for him.
So I made the joke all during basically Edwards-Hilaire's rookie year, and now the joke's kind of worn off, that every day Andy Reid walks out the practice goes, boy, I wish you were Jonathan Taylor. Who's in the same, you went like a couple picks after. Like, we wouldn't be saying that's a terrible pick if the Chiefs had Jonathan Taylor.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Chargers. Maybe Harbaugh loves them. I think Dobbins is up. Their guys are all up.
Harbaugh wants to run the ball, and they've just put together a mishmash of running backs there.
Find T. Higgins or Godwin or somebody, and then throw Jeanty in the mix.
And they probably look at the Lions and say that's the style of team that we're trying to.
We want to be those guys.
Emulate, but it didn't work out bad for the Lions to go up and go back and go up and get a running back. And they might say, that's our identity. So I could see a Chargers team.
Yeah, that might be my favorite fit so far.
Yeah, and they're early enough to be able to do something. Maybe even trade. Well, 20. They're
still sitting there at 22 or whatever.
They could go up to 14.
Mm-hmm.
for running back falls.
Yeah. They have a ton of money that they used elsewhere in free agency already.
By the way, I love the quote from Jeanty that I saw talking about the Heisman. He's like, every team we're Boise State, right? Every team Boise State goes against, you know what you have to stop, and their only goal is to stop him, and you can't.
And they can't.
Yeah.
I know we're getting up against it here, but two others. Denver, I could see Peyton kind of loving them. And Washington. I mean, to kind of do the Henry, Lamar, Daniels, Jeanty combo, you know?
Yeah, I could see that. They need to go on the other side of the ball.
They need a lot of other stuff, too. I would, if you turn it down a defensive tackle for him, I would.
If the Cowboys don't take him, if we're just talking about Jeanty right now, I'm not deep enough into the running, it's a good running back class.
It's a great one. Yeah.
As far as Jeanty goes, if the Cowboys don't take him, if he's clear number one guy, it does start to get pretty interesting there with what teams
it does
potentially make that pick. Or if he goes even higher to another team, there's like, look, he's the best player, so we're going to take the best player.
Like the Bijan situation.
Right. Next, let's go Raiders and some other questions about rankings and where guys rank in the NFL. An interesting question that even adds another layer of the question: who's the sixth best quarterback in the NFL? Skipping over the top five. Well, who are the top five? Next. Today's episode presented by Built Rewards. If you don't know Built Rewards, it's this simple. Listen up. If you're a renter, it's a game changer because thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments, just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. You earn valuable Built points on your rent that you're already paying, by the way, and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points for flights, hotel stays, even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. And all you have to do is start earning points on your rent that you're already paying anyway. You got to go to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl. That is joinbuilt, joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl. Make sure you use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards with Built today. Okay. Are the Raiders the worst? Do the Raiders, here's the way it's phrased. Do the Raiders have the worst outlook in the NFL right now? This question put out there from Sharp Sports. And is this the bleakest 2025 outlook for any team? If you're a head coach, we talked about Belichick a lot yesterday. If you're a head coach candidate, is that like the last interview you want to take?
I think so. I don't think I trust ownership. I hate that Sean Payton, Andy Reid, and Harbaugh are in my division, as well as Herbert and Mahomes.
Yeah, the division part is like, and by the way, we don't know if they're going to fire their head coach or what that's going to be.
Right.
Whether it's a new, I'm just kind of putting in the situation of like, okay, if you were looking for a team, it's probably your last choice, even though they have the number one pick in the draft. There's not that generational quarterback. Even
different if Andrew Luck was coming out, you know,
we know who and look, the generational guy doesn't always become the generational guy, but it's at least it's more attractive. So, maybe you want to live
the best year to have the first overall.
Yeah, it's whether even if they don't fire their head coach, it's a bleak situation. It is. It's the bleakest.
I think it's a bleak. I think it's bleaker than the Giants or Jets or it would be, or the Saints. I think that'd be last for me.
Is having Tom Brady in the building a plus or a minus?
I could see both, but I would lean towards a plus. I think a change is needed, and hopefully Mark Davis just says, "Tom, repaint the walls, do everything."
Yeah, but so here's the thing: is like, okay, X player, cool, Matt Millen. Let's draft 4 wide receivers.
It doesn't mean you're good at scouting, right?
He's going to be a good announcer. He's gotten a little bit better as the season goes along, but day one on the job, I wasn't blown away by the job Tom Brady did. Does he have to, he didn't go through his paces as a scout and work up and learn all these lessons. Are we going through the lesson learning period now? And so, okay, cool. He's a great GM or a great president of operations or whatever the title ends up being, a great front office person. Is he that in 5 years? That doesn't help 2025 and what this team is going through right now.
I know. And he's such a perfectionist and he knows the game so well. He's probably going to get good at it no matter what he does. That doesn't mean he is now, does he know the salary cap and how free agency works and how to get in touch with everybody? And I'm not even sure he's going to be in charge of the organization or how to draft safeties or left tackles. I don't know how much power he'll have.
Yeah, just as a sounding board, I mean, I would take him over Mark Davis.
Sure.
As far as the decision maker, so there's that. So it's probably going to help, but you'd also I don't know if you want that looming over your head. I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Yeah,
maybe great. Maybe it turns out to be a great situation. I don't know. Here's a leading question, kind of from JDS. Who's the sixth best quarterback in the NFL?
So I think the top five, I'm not going to fight with order, are Burrow, Mahomes, Lamar, Herbert, and who the heck am I forgetting?
Josh Allen.
Allen, yes.
Yeah.
And I think they're the top five. And I do think number 6 is a question. I'm going to go with Stafford. And the other names I wrote down, none of them really jump out at me. Stroud is not that guy right now. I don't think Love is that guy.
That would be the
right
answer before the season start, that we'd be saying Stroud, or saying Stroud over Herbert. So the Herbert thing, people are going to push back on you, by the way, anyway.
I know, but I think he's clearly better than these names I'm about to mention.
Okay.
I would go with Stafford. I think you have to recognize what Goff has done.
Mm-hmm.
But, boy, he's got a lot of help. Love and Stroud aren't there yet.
Yeah.
And that's all I got. And they're all NFC guys,
We already brought it up. Sam Darnold, the disrespect.
Yeah.
He's the best Is he the best quarterback in the NFC right now? No. I think Stafford probably.
I think Stafford still is.
Where it's like, oh, hey, don't forget about Stafford. He's still there. And then you start the new season, and the early part of the season, they lose some games. You're like, okay, Stafford's down here somewhere. Oh, no, don't forget about Stafford. He's right up there again.
Tears the Bills apart, right.
I think you got it right. I think you got the top 6. I think that's the way you have to go. And then you kind of look at Love and and
there's room for some young guy to take that over, though. I mean, it could be Caleb Williams or May or Daniels or
and Stroud should be in there, and we'll see how that goes. But
it's been a bad year
today. Right now, I think Stafford. I think that is the right answer. Quickly here, let's finish on this question, and shout out to all the listeners, all the question askers. Apologies to the ones we did not get to. There's a poll of ranking the veteran wide receivers. These 4 specific veteran wide receivers who had the best career: Devonte Adams, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, or Mike Evans.
I think it comes down to Allen versus Evans, and I think I'd go with Evans. Start to finish consistency is crazy. Like, I know Adams was awesome, but his first 2 years were bad. He struggled for a while early on. I'm going with Evans. I think Evans is the clearest Hall of Famer of that group.
Evans is the most consistent.
Yeah.
And Adams had the highest peak, in my opinion.
Yes.
But and judging by this poll, I think Adams is the sexier name and won the poll. And I'm like, at first blush, you look at it and go, hey, Adams is going to win that poll. I don't think it's a slam dunk for Adams. I think it's close. And I think the easiest one is 4th is Hopkins, because he had the lowest peak of all those guys and the shortest peak of all those guys.
I would say him and Allen are close to me. I never thought Allen was a top 5 guy, where Nuke might have been.
But Evans is the one where he probably should win and won't win. Evans, Adams, Allen, Hopkins is the order I'd put him in.
Yeah. I'm not sure about Allen versus Hopkins.
Allen's career has gone longer, and he's
more consistent.
Good he was at his peak, and Allen and Hopkins are so different too. Like, them together would be awesome, right? Because you have one
right. They're very different.
The other guy that's on the outside making 50-50 catches. But I think there's a little gap there. But I think there's some Allen disrespect. He's been a really good player for a really long time. I put him
really solid
over Hopkins for me. And Evans and Adams is close, but I would give it to
good
Adams.
Conversation.
So remarkable, yeah. But not surprising, the popular opinion would be Devonte Adams, and he did have the higher peak. I think
he was at one point. He's the only one that could have said, maybe I'm the best receiver on the planet.
Right. Yep.
The other guys could never say that. That's pretty illustrious.
And maybe that's enough to just say, yep, he had the better career, because you could say that about him.
The longevity's not bad either.
Yeah. Thanks for all the questions. Appreciate everybody out there, the everydayers and the new listeners alike. Please subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. And Matt and I will be back tomorrow making picks for the rest of the games in the NFL, Week 15, right here. Peacock and Williamson.